Hey everyone, how's it going? It's Nits and Gaming. We out here, and today I'm going to be the salesman for a personally made build I like to call Arcade Amara. So now this build is going to be mainly and mostly focused around this gun right here, the Pent-Up Alchemist. This is a must-have and a class mod that increases Dread. Those are the two requirements for this build, the two must-haves. Now I'm going to get into the specs and go ahead and explain how they work while we're into the gameplay. So you're going to want to spec first on Fist of Elements, max in Anima, Tempest, Wildfire, Dread, Deep Well, Catharsis, Sustainment, and Forceful Expression. This is just going to help our damage output massively. I'll get further into it later in the video. Now you're going to want to invest max in a Personal Space, 2 in a Clarity, max in an Arm Steel, and 3 in a Mindfulness. Mindfulness is very important. That's basically why we stopped here. And you're going to want to invest the rest, 3 in a Fast Hands, 2 in a Violent Tapestry, and Alacrity, the rest of the points. You can go ahead and swap some points between Violent Tapestry and Alacrity. I personally like this setup and believe it works the best, but this tree is probably the one that's most subject to customization. But the rest is required for the class. So, now I'm going to get into the gameplay and explain how the class works. Enjoy! Alright, so the class explanation is going to start something like this. I'm going to go ahead and explain why we invested in certain trees, how they synergize with each other within their own trees, how they synergize across other trees, and afterwards in the end I'm going to explain what makes it so overpowered with the gun. So now we got the 5 points in Anima and Tempest. In order to increase our elemental damage, that's overall just going to increase damage output. The 30% elemental damage added from Tempest is actually very helpful because weapons that deal straight elemental damage are boosted just by that, and plus gun damage. And speaking of gun damage, the reason we have that class mod that increases Dread is because Dread actually doubles. It goes from 15% gun damage when enemies are grasped all the way up to 30. This is big. It's actually one of the main reasons why this class can seem like a melter of certain mobs at some points. And now I have the Deep Well ability. The +1 on Deep Well is actually really useful. I would highly recommend finding a class mod that allows you to use it, because 40% more mag size, that's going to bump up our Alchemist from 16 ammo all the way up to 22. That's a lot of extra rounds, that's a lot of extra bodies, explosions, especially the way the Alchemist works. I'll get into it in a little while. Catharsis, it's whenever Amara deals an elemental effect and they die, the enemy explodes with that elemental effect. This just helps us spread status overall and dealing more damage over time. While we're dealing status damage as well, we get healed by the following ability, Sustainment, which we also invested in. Sustainment makes it so we do 20% of damage dealt. It goes straight into our health. As you can see in the clips down below, every single time I shoot somebody with the Alchemist, it's going to go ahead and actually heal me, especially when they explode. And the combination of the explosion being boosted by elemental damage from everything in our tree is going to make this class just feel really smooth in the hands and melt stuff immediately. So now for the other tree, Brawl, we got Personal Space. Self-explanatory, the closer we are, the better, more damage we do. It's really good for the Flacker, which I'm using for this build. The Flacker just kind of melts stuff with Personal Space damage and all the other boosts we have. Arm Steel has been kind of necessary because it increases splash damage. Now the Alchemist Explosion actually counts as splash damage because it's not a bullet. So this 20% more splash damage and splash damage reduction to ourselves is actually going to be really useful. But now for the bigger deal here, Mindfulness. So what Mindfulness does is every time Amara takes damage, we're going to gain improved shield regen, which is whatever, but the big part is movement speed. As you've been able to see in the gameplay, whenever I pull out this damn Alchemist and start shooting, I go basically arcade-like speed and the game gets really fun, which is why I decided to title it this way. Not done just about yet though. Now, I have Fast Hands, a mod that increases it as well, increases my reload speed by 30, weapon swap speed by 50, and mode switch speed by 50 as well. And that just makes the character feel really fast. Every time I switch to the Flacker, every time I reload, every time I switch different weapons, and we're going to be doing a lot of switching here because mostly this is like a solo destruction, like mobbing build, as you can see from the gameplay. And being able to switch guns really fast is just really nice. And speaking of speed, the reason I personally prefer Alacrity is because getting those Alacrity stacks and then proccing my ability like every 10-20 seconds because this ability recharges really fast, my reload speed is going to have a constant like 10-15-20% boost, which ends up mattering for weapons like the Flacker. So that's basically what we have in our trees. Now, how they work with the weapon. As you're looking at the gameplay, you're looking at me attempt to phase lock an enemy. When I shoot him, I'm going to be taking damage from the Alchemist. It's going to give me mindfulness stacks, and it's going to allow me to go even faster. As you can see in this piece of gameplay right here, after locking an enemy and shooting, then I can run straight into the crowd at really high speeds. So this just leads for really fun gameplay, like allowing me to continuously heal. If I throw a grenade, it's going to heal my health. If I shoot the Alchemist, it's going to heal my health. If I shoot the Alchemist, I'm going to go faster. So basically everything I'm doing, pretty much almost everything I'm doing, is healing me and making me go faster and making me do more damage. Now, another big selling point of this class is not only the speed and damage that I'm getting just from being alive and walking around, it's the damage that I'm getting whenever I phase lock an opponent. When I phase lock an opponent, my gun damage is going to go up to 30% from Dread alone, and then my Tempest is already there active, so those boosts stack up. And the Forceful Expression ability, every time I lock someone, it's going to deal bonus elemental damage. The Alchemist counts as elemental damage. Big surprise, the explosion part of it. So basically, this class is just boosting the Alchemist power off the roof. And the Alchemist was like made for Amara, because as you can see from here, just running around shooting stuff has been so much fun. I'm going to leave the rest of this clip up to watch and come back in for some commentary for the Circle of Slaughter clip. So as you can see from the gameplay here, our ability Fast Hands is actually coming into play quite a bit, because once you get the mastery of this class, once you get your weapons of choice down, aside from the Alchemist, and know what to switch to at what times, there's going to be a lot of weapon switching, a lot of grenade throwing, a lot of timing to heal your health back, a lot of shooting, explosions, and speed. All of that combined leads to a very pleasant, what I like to call, arcade-like Amara experience. So this has definitely been by far one of my favorite classes. I would highly recommend any of you to check it out if you want to be running and gunning with Amara in Mayhem 3. I know it can be kind of hard to solo gun in Mayhem 3 with Amara, since most of her abilities are mainly based on linking and phase lock elemental base damage. This one is as far out as I could get in just sheer destruction. I'm going to leave the rest of the Slaughterhouse clip up, and then I'm going to come back for another last note that I would like to leave about the class and its usefulness. Enjoy! Now this following, next, and last clip is going to just be me doing some chest runs in Carnivorous Guts. There's a certain route I enjoy taking here once in a while when I load up the game to get 3 red chests and about 4 whites. Another thing I found very unique about this class is that, unlike other characters where you have to have some sort of special, I guess, gimmick you could say, as in Zane's clone or Flack's invisibility to go faster and to avoid enemies and to get places, Amara kind of gets the best of both worlds with this class. Not only do you get the speed by just spamming the alchemist as you see me do in this clip, it helps you reach other areas faster, it's more accessible, and you have damage output to kill enemies in crowded areas where there's valuable chests, example in Athena's or a place like this. So yep, it's basically all the utilities I can name of this class. I highly recommend you checking out Arcade Amara. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of the video.